Hello everyone who is watching today's video. We invite you to drift far out to sea, in the cold waters of Alaska, where American fishermen are working hard day and night to make a living in the stormy ocean. With a noble goal, to conquer giant bluefin tuna. The boats are modern, but the fishing method still has a strong traditional breadth, that is, hand line fishing with long lines. One of the difficult techniques, requiring the flexibility, perseverance and extensive experience of the fishermen. Not everyone has the strength to pull up bluefin tuna weighing up to hundreds of kilograms with their own hands. While the waves roll and the cold cuts constantly surround them, this is not just a fish hunt, but a real confrontation between humans and nature. Each tuna season lasts only a few months, and during that short period of time, fishermen have to take advantage of every day, every hour to find precious schools of tuna. Bluefin tuna, also known as the king of the ocean, is one of the most valuable fish in the world. Each fish can be sold for thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars if it meets the right standards. Bluefin tuna meat is famous for its rich fat, bright red color and delicious flavor, and is an indispensable ingredient for high-class sashimi and sushi dishes in Japan and many other countries. Therefore, catching hundreds of tuna each trip is not only a great economic victory, but also a source of pride for the entire fishing community. The work begins very early, when the sun has not yet risen behind the snow-capped mountains on the horizon. The fishermen urgently prepare long fishing lines, often hundreds of meters long, with dozens of carefully baited hooks. The bait is usually small live fish or squid, tuna's favorite dishes. Once everything is ready, they drop the fishing lines into the sea and wait patiently. Unlike large-scale fishing nets, hand-line fishing requires patience, finesse and high observation skills. Just a slight movement of the fishing line can signal the appearance of a giant tuna below. When feeling the unusual weight, the fishermen immediately rush into pulling the line. This is when all the strength, skills and coordination between the members on the boat are maximized. Bluefin tuna never give up easily. They struggle, dive deep, move suddenly and drag a long length of line, making the process of pulling the fish last from several dozen minutes to hours. There are times when one fisherman has to take turns with another. Because their hands and feet are exhausted, sweat mixes with seawater, soaking each shirt, while their eyes are still highly focused, their mouths shouting loudly to signal each other to coordinate. When the fish gradually rises to the surface of the water, it is the most breathtaking moment. A small mistake can cause the fish to escape the hook and swim away. But with good coordination, many years of experience and determination to never give up, the fishermen conquered each fish one by one. When the fish was safely on the deck, everyone cheered as if they had just won a fierce battle. The bluefin tuna, with its massive body, sparkling silver under the sunlight, lay motionless, becoming a precious result of many efforts and hardships. Every day, fishing boats can catch dozens, even hundreds of tuna, depending on the weather, ocean currents and the presence of schools of fish. But not every day is a lucky day. There are days when the boat drifts in the vast ocean for hours without a single signal. That is when the perseverance, Love for the job and solidarity of the fishermen are tested. They tell jokes to keep their spirits up, share hot cups of coffee, and simple meals in the bitter cold. It is this optimism that motivates them to overcome all the difficulties at sea. Once the fish are caught, the processing begins right on the boat. Skilled workers cut the fish, clean them, and preserve them with ice or freeze them immediately to maintain the quality of the meat. The fresh, fatty red meat is carefully arranged in cold storage, preparing for the journey back to the mainland. Each fish is coded, recording the time and location of capture to ensure transparency and traceability. An important part of the modern food supply chain. After many days at sea, the ships dock with their holds full of tuna, and bright smiles on the strong faces of the fishermen. They not only bring back valuable fish, but also joy and pride for having overcome the challenges of the sea. Tuna is immediately transported to processing plants, or loaded onto planes for export to Japan, Korea, Europe, where each slice of sashimi from these fish will be cherished as a premium delicacy. American fishermen understand that today's fishing is not just about how much you catch. But also about sustainable development. They strictly follow regulations on fish size, seasons, and fishing quotas. Fish that are too small will be released back to the sea to continue growing. Vessels also invest heavily in positioning technology, tracking fish schools, avoiding overfishing that depletes resources. They know that protecting the sea is also protecting the future for future generations. In addition to its economic value, bluefin tuna fishing is also an indispensable part of the culture and life of coastal communities. Exciting fishing stories, parties celebrating a bumper catch, traditions passed down from father to son, all create a unique identity for the children of the sea. They live in harmony, close to each other like a big family, working together, sharing together, and facing the storms of life together. Above all, the profession of tuna fishing with long lines pulled by hand is the clearest proof of the willpower, perseverance and aspiration of people to rise up in the vast nature. While the world is increasingly modernized and mechanized, there are still people willing to stick with the manual method, because they understand that it is not only a way to catch fish, but also a way to preserve the value, preserve the spirit, and preserve the soul of the ocean. As the sun gradually sets on the horizon, covering the calm sea with a layer of orange-yellow light, the boats still tirelessly move forward. A new day is about to begin, and the fishermen continue their journey to make a living, a journey of courage, optimism, and the desire to conquer nature. That is the story we want to send to you today, a beautiful, honest and inspiring journey in the heart of the deep blue ocean. In the quiet night, with only the sound of waves and the rustling sea breeze. After long days of roaming the sea with long lines pulled by hand to hunt for giant bluefin tuna, we move to another scene, one that is no less intense and majestic. It is the sight of large, professional fleets catching hundreds of tons of fish with purse seine nets, one of the largest and most productive fishing methods in the modern fishing industry. As dawn breaks over the horizon, a series of fishing boats are anchored in position. The captain and crew check all the equipment from the sonar fish positioning system. The seabed scanning radar, to each piece of rope, each joint of the super large purse seine net, with a diameter covering a large area of the sea. From the deck, the fishermen operate skillfully, divided into groups, each person taking on a task. When the sonar signals a school of fish moving below, it could be mackerel, herring, tuna or seasonal pelagic species, the command is immediately given: drop the net. And then, the whole system started to move. A small boat rushed forward, pulling the net head, and began to surround the school of fish in a radius of hundreds of meters. The long net was like a giant curtain, gradually closing, falling down like a trap with no way out. Strong arms controlled the winch, pulling the net up bit by bit. The fish began to jump to the surface of the water, sparkling silver in the early morning sunlight, creating a breathtakingly vivid picture. The sound of machinery mixed with cheers. The sound of fish splashing. The sound of waves crashing created an energetic and dramatic symphony. Each net pulled up could weigh tens, even hundreds of tons of fish. The salty smell of the sea. The fishy smell of fish. The smell of workers' sweat blended into a unique flavor. The flavor of the ocean, of labor and achievements. Fishermen no longer feel tired, only high concentration. Dexterity to avoid tearing the net, not letting the fish escape, and ensuring the freshest quality for each fish caught. Immediately after the fish are brought to the deck, the processing team quickly sorts them by size and type. The fish are placed in cold water tanks or transferred directly to deep freezers in the ship. High-value fish such as Japanese mackerel, tuna, and white sardines will be prioritized for separate processing to keep their maximum value when auctioned at major ports. Some ships even have a processing compartment right on board, where workers in tight uniforms, gloves, and sharp knives cut, wash, and divide the fish into clean trays like in a floating factory in the middle of the ocean. There are days when the entire fleet works non-stop for 12-14 hours, every time the radar scans and finds another large school of fish. For them, opportunities do not come often. The ocean is vast but not always abundant. Sometimes, you have to travel dozens of nautical miles to see a school of fish. Sometimes, the net is cast out but nothing is caught. But when you see an opportunity, the whole ship must operate like a perfect body, fast, decisive, efficient. That is the mettle of American fishermen, people who have been trained over many years. Understand every movement of the ocean. Know how to listen to the sound of fish. And are always ready to accept risks in exchange for a bumper harvest. When the ship returns to shore with a hold full of hundreds of tons of fish, the fishing port becomes more bustling than ever. Refrigerated trucks and container trucks are waiting. Trays of fish are unloaded by large cranes, transferred directly to specialized vehicles to be taken to the factory. Each trip like that not only brings in hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue, but also maintains the global seafood supply chain. From luxury restaurants in Europe to supermarkets in Asia. From family meals to processed food for export. Behind the nets is a well-oiled industry. From modern fishing technology, sonar, GPS to vessel tracking, to strict standards for preservation, processing, and distribution, all contribute to the admirable professionalism of American fishermen. They are more than just workers, they are vital links in the global seafood industry. And they understand that, for the sea to sustain them in the long term, they must fish responsibly, not overfishing, not harming marine ecosystems, and always following regulations on size, seasonality, and allowable catch. After the last net of the day was pulled up, hundreds of tons of fish were neatly placed in the ship's hold. The fishermen did not rest. Their faces not only showed the fatigue from continuous work, but also their eyes lit up with joy and pride, because this achievement was not only money, but also a living testament to the spirit of not retreating in the face of storms. They worked in a harsh environment, hot sun, strong wind, even sudden heavy rains that could come at any time. There were times when the waves were as high as the deck. The sea surface was covered with white-capped waves. But the ship still steadfastly headed forward, looking for the next big school of fish. When everything was arranged in the hold, the fishermen began to clean the deck, wash the nets, check each rope, each hook, preparing for the next catch. Each ship is a living machine, and the captain is like a commander who always stays alert. Making quick decisions in every situation. The meals on board are simple but full of energy: bread, cold cuts, hot coffee, and the lively stories of sea friends. Despite the hardship, they are always optimistic and love life, because they know that they are doing a valuable and worthy job. As the ship approaches the mainland, the waves begin to calm down, and the seagulls fly along the ship as if signaling a day of victory. At the fishing port, refrigerated trucks are waiting. The fish are weighed, classified, and transferred to modern processing plants, where each tray of fish is cleaned, quick frozen, and professionally packaged for distribution all over the world. Some special types of fish are even auctioned right at the port, where traders from Japan, Korea, and China are willing to pay high prices to own batches of top-quality fresh fish. American fishermen understand that fishing is not just a way of life, it is also a source of pride. A tradition passed down through generations. Sons follow their fathers, grandchildren follow their grandfathers. They grow up with the waves, the boats, and the same spirit of accepting challenges. There are young people just starting out, their eyes filled with excitement as they watch a large school of fish being pulled into the net for the first time. And there are men with gray hair, sun-tanned faces, but their hands are still as strong as when they were young. Because their lives have been immersed in every wave, every fishing season, every storm. Purse net fishing requires not only skill but also smooth coordination between members of the boat. They must understand each other, trust each other, and act in sync like a soccer team far out at sea. One wrong move can cause the net to tear, fish to escape, or worse, cause an accident. But that is why each successful trip is an epic of team spirit. A testament to the discipline, solidarity and perseverance of those who live with the sea. And then when the ship docks, after many days of drifting, the cheers of the waiting family, the tight hugs of wives and children at the harbor, the happy smiles of children seeing their father return safely, all of these things make all the hardships disappear. Perhaps there is no greater reward than the feeling of returning. Bringing joy, safety and glorious labor results. The fish caught from the clean waters of Alaska are not only valuable economically but also the pride of the entire U.S. seafood industry. From the deep cold waters, where the environment is strictly preserved, the fish grow naturally, with firm, sweet, nutritious meat, sought after by the world. And it is thanks to their seriousness, modern techniques, and awareness of preserving marine resources that American fishermen can continue to stand firm in the ocean. Reaching further and further out to sea, becoming stronger in their journey to conquer the next fishing seasons. If you want me to continue to expand on the impact of purse seine fishing on the local economy, policies to protect the marine environment, or the difficulties in harsh winters, I am ready to write seamlessly according to the current text. The ship still cut through the waves, entering deep waters that fishermen call golden spots, where there is a high possibility of encountering large schools of tuna. On the deck, some fishermen took a nap after many hours of continuous fishing, while the rest quietly prepared bait, checked the lines and hooks, and got everything ready for the next fishing round. No one said much, just resolute eyes looking at each other in silence. For them, this was no longer a job. But a mission, a life attached to the breath of the ocean. There were moments that seemed so ordinary, but became unforgettable memories for every child of the sea. When the first tuna of the day was pulled up, the whole ship cheered in joy. An old fisherman with calloused hands smiled brightly, his eyes shining with indescribable pride, because he knew that each fish caught was a part of a meal. A tuition fee for his children, a family home maintained. Those stories were not told in words. But were clearly present in every look, every gesture and drop of sweat falling on the cold deck. However, the sea was not always gentle. There were days when the weather changed in just a few hours, the sky was pitch black. Strong winds whipped the ship around, and waves as high as mountains crashed against the ship's side. In those life and death moments, the fishermen not only fought to pull in the fish, but also fought to keep themselves and their teammates alive. They tied ropes around their waists, clung tightly to the iron railings, and shouted loudly to drown out the wind and coordinate their actions. The tuna struggled underwater while the whole ship shook violently. It was a battle between the fish's survival instinct and the iron will of humans. Those moments were unexpected, but they tempered the steely spirit and courage of the Alaskan fishermen. Amidst the harshness, the human bond on board became even warmer. They did not distinguish between age or origin. All were like brothers. The elderly passed on their experiences. The young shared their strength, together keeping the ship running smoothly. Some had been attached to the profession for 30 years, had overcome many storms at sea, had witnessed their colleagues disappearing at sea, but still did not give up the profession. For them, longline tuna fishing is not only a tradition, but a way of life. A bond between the past and the present, between father and son, between the sea and people. While the fish were being processed right on the boat, experts on land also monitored via satellite, locating and analyzing the sea areas where many schools of fish were appearing. Modern technology was integrated into the traditional profession, creating an effective exploitation model while still ensuring environmental sustainability. Vessels only catch the permitted amount. Do not overfish, and strictly follow international fishing regulations. Many fishermen also cooperate with organizations Oceanographic Research Organization, attaching tracking chips to the released fish to monitor their migration behavior, contributing to the conservation of this rare fish species. Upon arrival at the port, the tuna are carefully weighed and classified according to meat quality, fat content, color and freshness. Some of the top quality tuna are auctioned on the spot by importers from Japan or Korea. The price of a bluefin tuna can reach tens of thousands of dollars if it has the right meat texture, especially the toro, the soft, fatty belly meat, which is very popular in high-end sushi restaurants. Although the fishermen are tired after many days at sea, just seeing the fish they catch being appreciated is enough to give them more confidence for the next season. After challenging trips at sea, the fishermen return home, reunite with their families in a moment of peace. They recounted fishing stories, fierce waves, and struggles with giant tuna, in a spirited voice but with eyes that shone with fatigue, because the sea had drained too much of their strength. But then, just a short while later, they were ready to get back on the boat and head out to sea again. Because for them, the sea has become ingrained in their blood and flesh. In every breath, the feeling of conquering a big tuna, the loud shouts on the deck when they won, are what make them unable to leave the life of a fisherman. The bluefin tuna fishing industry not only brings billions of dollars in economic benefits to the United States each year, but also creates jobs for tens of thousands of workers, from those who directly catch, to those who process, transport, and distribute. All form a closed value chain, contributing greatly to the GDP of the seafood industry. Not only that, this profession also contributes to promoting the image of the United States, a country that not only has high technology but also has resilient, brave people living in the middle of the ocean, mastering the ocean with their own hands. After many days of drifting in the middle of the ocean, the ships finally returned to port. the hulls covered with sea salt and oil, bearing the traces of many days of struggling with the waves, under the early morning sunlight. The sweat rolling down the sunburned faces of the fishermen seems to blend with the drops of seawater still on their shirts, creating an image that is both austere and majestic. They don't need to say much. Just a pat on the shoulder, a look at each other is enough to understand the trip was successful. The tuna, as big as barrels, weighing hundreds of kilograms, are carefully placed on refrigerated trucks, transported straight to the processing plant, preparing for the next journey to the most demanding markets in the world. Inside modern processing facilities near the port, tuna is processed quickly with a system of cold knives and automatic sorting lines. The fish is cut into precise pieces, stored in an ideal temperature environment to preserve freshness. The toro meat, fatty, soft and expensive, will be specially packaged for export to Japan, where even the smallest scratch or uneven fat marbling is enough to reduce the value by half. The tuna industry in the US depends not only on the skill of the fishermen, but also on the process of preservation, transportation and serious attention to detail in quality control. In many coastal states such as Alaska, California and Massachusetts, tuna is not just a commercial product, it is a cultural symbol, a source of pride for coastal communities. Tuna festivals are held annually, where locals and tourists from all over flock to admire the giant tuna on display, participate in simulated fishing activities and enjoy delicious dishes made from bluefin tuna. That is when the sea is no longer fierce, but becomes close, familiar and full of laughter. However, hidden behind the splendor of successful trips are feelings that only insiders can understand. There are young fishermen who have lost their lives due to accidents at sea. Falling into the cold water, or being swept away by fishing lines when trying to pull a tuna too hard. There are fathers who do not return to witness the birth of their children, because they are drifting for a week in the middle of the ocean. The sea is not only the place that feeds them, but also the place that has robbed them of many sacred things. But despite everything, they still return, because for them, abandoning the sea is like abandoning their own souls. The US government and fishing organizations have many policies to support and protect fishermen. From building weather warning systems, providing insurance for fishermen, to investing in research to conserve tuna species that are at risk of overfishing. Sea safety training courses are held regularly, helping workers gain more survival skills and cope with natural disasters. In addition, media campaigns also help raise public awareness of the value of fishing, not only economically. But also in preserving marine culture and traditions passed down by our ancestors. American fishermen, those who silently sacrifice themselves at sea. Not famous, not widely praised in the media, but they are everyday heroes. Real Marines who fight tirelessly for food and clothing, for the honor of their profession and for their love of the ocean. The roar of the ship's engines, the screeching of fishing lines as the fish plunge into the water, the shouts of each other pulling fish in the cold wind. All create a magnificent symphony of labor, courage and resilience. When night falls on the port, the sound of the engines gradually quiets down. The lights from the anchored ships shine onto the